10-volt battery. Motor running one direction, flip the little switch down here, motor running the opposite direction. This is a $10 controller off of eBay or AliExpress. It is rated for 500 watts. Right now I'm running 10 volts. It barely draws 1 amp. I have an amp meter. I checked it out. Barely draws 1 amp. So you've got 10 watts. So you're talking about a lot of room to build with something here. Point being, what I want to talk about is the fact that electric motors just aren't designed to be upgraded or hot rodded. You know, used to, or still yet, you can buy a car and you can buy parts to modify the engine, like a camshaft or exhaust pipes or carburetors or fuel injector, not fuel injectors, compressors and that kind of stuff. I've seen several complaints about not being able to modify electric motors, and I had started out with this already with this in mind. There's several things you can do to modify this motor. This is a 3D printed brushless DC motor, censored. That's why you're able to change it from forward to reverse. There's trade-offs between censored and censorless. Oops. But I preferred censored. Gives you a lot more control, I believe. Anyway, first thing you could do to modify this motor, and I'm talking about this motor, I'm talking about on a larger scale, big enough to perform bicycles, motorcycles, cars. Again, to begin with, this motor here in particular, these motors are one single wire wound coil, so that it kind of reduces the amount of current that can flow. So if you used multiple wires and a shorter wire and wound it to the same size coil, you'd end up pumping more amp through there. More amperage means more power. So you could easily ramp up the power. Like I was saying, this motor here is so underrated for this controller. It'd be easy to modify it that way. And this is a axial flux. It means the coils are perpendicular to the drive shaft, and so the flux is parallel with the drive shaft. What that means is that I could put another stator on here and another coil. I'd rather talk about this motor here because this has dual rotors. I already have 2 rotors in here with a stator sandwiched in between them. So it's running 2 rotors simultaneously, giving you a pretty good amount of torque. But if you took this end off, this cover off, all you'd have to do is pop another stator on here and another rotor, and it would increase your power substantially. You could easily double the power just by adding the exact same type of stator on it. And it would only increase the thickness a little tiny bit. So you could actually get away with stacking those. Like I was saying, this is a 500 watt controller. You need to put a heat sink on the back of it, of course, to dissipate all that heat. But you could stack this sucker up until you had it drawing, what, 10 to 15 amps, somewhere in between there, but with a 36 volt power supply, you'd be running 500 watts. That is another way to improve the performance of this motor. So also there's another point I want to make, that strength, the ABS probably works fine, you know, under low stress and low temperatures. I want to look at carbon fiber, building with carbon fiber. And even yet, as much as we may need to look at going in the direction of printing them out of metal. But the idea mainly is to make these motors so that they are highly modifiable, and people have a lot of flexibility with them. My primary concern right now is building the motors, making them available, making the plans available, the parts available, kits available, so that young people can start. I say young people, let me get on and go on with that, so that people can start messing with them and building controllers for them. You know, there's a lot of people building controllers. That's something I'm working on. I built a controller using Arduino. It didn't perform very well, but it's a start. So there you go. I think that's everything I wanted to say about this motor. The fact that it's 3D printed and it's scalable. You know, it's there are other motors, electric motors. I saw motors, you know, good size, and they're compound. You know, well, you know, you're limited. This thing, even if you built one of these, you know, 2 foot in diameter, and we're stacking coils and rotors, stators and rotors, you would still not increase your total width that much. So it's very expandable. So that's all I wanted to say.